Ouchie!
They were at the hospital, in the children's ER. Charlotte's voice could be heard along a corridor whose walls were covered with paintings of forest animals. Ouchie! 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 There were 6 or 7 rooms in the children's ER. The kids in the other rooms could also hear Charlotte. They wondered what was happening in that curtained-off cubicle. What was it that was making this kid shout so loud? What were they doing to her? Were the doctors and nurses going to do to them what they were doing to her? Perhaps they were injecting her with a great big needle. Ouchie! 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 Charlotte stopped to take in some rapid breaths. And off she went again. Ouchie! Don't touch it! It hurts! Charlotte's mom, dad, grandma, and grandpa were with her in the room. A nurse was also there, patiently trying to draw some blood. She was holding Charlotte's hand and gently tapping her arm to find a vein. She hadn't done anything yet to cause her any pain, but Charlotte was shouting all the same. Charlotte's mom, dad, grandma, and grandpa were standing in front of her, trying to calm her down. Oh, my dear, it's almost over. It's almost over. There's nothing to it. No, my darling, it's okay, it's okay. Charlotte, try to think about our trip to the park yesterday. It's nothing. Feel a thing. Look, Charlotte, look. I've got your toy in my purse. It's not going to hurt, sweetie. They were just saying the same things over and over. You couldn't even tell who was saying what. Charlotte didn't want to listen. What did they mean, it's nothing? How did they expect her to keep calm? It wasn't every day a nurse wanted to poke her with a needle, was it? Was a trip to the hospital a normal occurrence? She'd never been in ER before. And here was this nurse hovering over her. Charlotte didn't want any of it. She didn't want to be here. She didn't want the needle or the nurse. And she didn't want these forest animals on the hospital walls either. She didn't even want to see her favorite kangaroo toy anymore. The only thing she wanted was to leave this place. She started shouting again. Ouchie, don't touch, it hurts. Right at that exact moment, a streak of light passed in front of Charlotte and stopped where her parents were standing, right there in front of her. As if by magic, a tiny little girl appeared. She had red hair and a shy smile on her freckled face, and wore bright red shoes. It felt to Charlotte as though she had jumped right out of a giant TV screen showing cartoons. In a sweet, tiny voice, the little girl said, "Yes, Charlotte, here I am. I'm Ouchie." Charlotte was so shocked, she simply replied, "Excuse me?" "Well, you've been calling for me, so here I am. My name's Ouchie, and you said the magic words to call me to you. Ouchie. So what can I do for you?" "I didn't call anyone. I'm just hurting, and I don't want anyone to poke a needle in me." "I know it hurts. It is a needle after all. But I'm here now. Maybe I can help you relax a little about the needle now." "So you really did know I was in pain? Why do my mom and dad keep saying it's nothing then? My grandma and grandpa too. It really does hurt." The tiny girl laughed. "Of course that's what they're going to say. They're just trying to comfort you. But I always tell things the way they are. Yes, it may hurt. Everyone hurts in different ways. Do you remember the other day in the park when you fell from the swing? You called me that day too. Ouchie, it hurts, you were shouting. Then you cried a little bit, but 2 minutes later you carried on playing, as though nothing had happened." In the park? How do you know I fell in the park?" "Because you were crying ouchie, so I came." "Ouchie. Another time, you were helping your mom in the kitchen. She told you not to touch the knife, but you still did and you cut your finger. Then you cried a lot. Ouchie! You called me again, and I came. But a little while later, you watched your favorite cartoon, and you forgot all about your finger. Were you there on that day too? Asked Charlotte in surprise. Of course I was. I'll be there with you whenever you call out. Always. So why are you telling me all this? It mustn't have hurt that much on those days. Today, I think it's going to really hurt. You're right. It will hurt. But maybe only for a minute or maybe 2 minutes. And then it goes away. However much those around you say it won't hurt, you still know that it will. Everybody hurts, but then it goes away. That's how it is. It goes away even if you don't shout and scream. Later on, you'll get over other things that hurt. When you shout and cry that it hurts, you're just going to feel that pain more. If you are in pain, you have to say it and talk about it, even cry about it. But if you struggle and make a fuss, you'll just tire yourself out. Charlotte got cross. So what am I supposed to do then? Well, for example, you know the nurse is going to draw some blood? Take a deep breath and imagine yourself in a beautiful place. Relax your body, and yes, I accept that it will hurt a little, but it will pass very quickly. Just like all those other times you were hurting. Think of those times. The times when you were in pain, but then you calmed down and the pain slowly went away. Charlotte couldn't really decide whether she liked this tiny girl or not. It really would hurt. And the only thing she felt she could do about that was shout, to stop the pain. But then she thought about it and realized Ouchie was right. She thought about that day when she fell in the park, and the time she cut her finger. After a little while, everything really had gone back to normal. The pain had lessened and then disappeared completely. Charlotte, we do need to take some blood, said the nurse. Just as everyone in the room started to talk and say, it will soon be over. Charlotte said, Stop, you're confusing me. Everyone went quiet. She took a deep breath, a breath that went all the way down to her feet. Then, I'm ready, she said to the nurse. You can do it now. She closed her eyes and imagined she was in her favorite park, swinging in her favorite swing. It was a sunny day. She thought of the clothes she was wearing and the color of the swing. The nurse slowly drew the blood she needed for the tests. There, all done, Charlotte. You were very brave. Charlotte thought how quickly it was over, and it really hadn't hurt that much. She opened her eyes. Ouchie was still in front of her, watching her. You were right, said Charlotte. I'm glad you listened to me, said Ouchie. I like all children. Sometimes they get cross with me. But that's okay. I still like them all. And I like you too, said Charlotte. Thank you for helping me. No problem, said Ouchie. You can call me softly whenever you're hurting. I'll be there. I'll be with you, and we'll get through it together. We'll get through it together, said Charlotte. We'll get through it if you're there to remind me. Before they left the hospital, Charlotte found out that the test showed she wasn't seriously ill. She just had some kind of virus and needed to rest. Everyone was relieved. Charlotte was both surprised and happy to have met Ouchie. She was just a little bit run down and only wanted to go to her room and sleep. She wondered when she'd see Ouchie again. She wondered whether she really wanted to. Ouchie had taught her a really clever thing. She didn't think she'd scream so loudly next time she was hurt. She'd remain calm, just like her mom. Charlotte felt like a grown-up. She needed to write about it in her diary right away.
To be a traveler is to collect countless memories from each and every experience. Deep inside you, every stone and clod of earth you touch. My travels take me everywhere and anywhere. I journey around the world and touch each and every part of this paradise. But I never get tired. I'm a true traveler, one with no color or shape. Although my life cycle is obvious, it's never uneventful. Each contact brings me new surprises. Sometimes I am the joy in children's laughter. Sometimes I give shape to the sand. Sometimes I can break through the banks of a river and flood the roads. Finally, I join the sea. Because if you're a water drop, it's not the length of the journey that's important. It's the memories that you carry with you. If you go for a stroll in the forest, you may not notice that you are walking on a great big web. But we hear every one of your steps, because the thing we do best is hearing and listening. I'm a mushroom. I live in this forest, under this huge tree. We mushrooms are part of a great big web that's under the soil. This web connects us to one another, and it passes information on to us, from near, from far, from all around the forest. This wood wide web connects us to the earth and works as our ears. I can hear across such long distances when I listen to the forest. See those trees on the horizon? Well, I can even hear what nutrients they need. Once I've heard them, I can send over what I can spare. If we all send a little, they will receive enough for their needs. When it's the rainy season, some of us poke out of the soil wearing our caps. Some of us are tall and thin when we come out into the world, while some of us are plump and short. Some are pure white, and others come in bright, beautiful colors. We remember to greet everything around us by doffing our caps. Sometimes we might be trampled by a herd of wild pigs. Or we might be picked by a mushroom gatherer. We might be snapped in two by curious children. Or, because our time is up, we might rot away exactly where we are. You might look around the forest one day and think we're not there. Then, when the rains start, it means it's time for some of us to break through the earth and meet the wind again. I don't know how many winters I've seen, but I love to feel the wind blowing about my cap. Because if you're a mushroom, it's not how many winters you have weathered that matters. It's the heartbeat of the earth to which you belong. Some stories tell us about big events. But the story I'm about to tell isn't one of them. In fact, you could say it's a little bit fragile, a little bit shy, and all in all, rather small. If you were a candle flame, your stories would be pretty much the same. Because with a tiny breath, a subtle breeze, and just because that's how things are meant to be, your story could end. But being a candle flame is more exciting than you might think. Sometimes you might feel more awesome than usual. You might make new friends. You might even be heart and soul of the party. You might be all the colors of the rainbow. You might have a beautiful fragrance and dance to the glow of your own light. Because if you're a candle flame, it's not the size of your story that matters. It's keeping the darkness at bay.